Those initial actions are essentially the foundation for that incident and how it will unfold. You will always be behind the 8 ball if those initial actions aren't optimal, and whilst it can be brought back, it's more difficult to bring something back when those haven't been effective. Based on the building being on the main northern portal and the traffic that is that time of night coming to that time of the evening, time of the weekend, we had major operation with police across multiple agencies, but police looking after and controlling huge crowds. We had QAS operations in relation to the, obviously the personnel that were involved in life rescue, needed medical treatment, but also some evacuees and welfare ideas for that number of evacuees, somewhere around the 1,200 mark. And then also the other side of that is considering the nature and the significance of the fire. Some of those people, a significant portion of those people, were not going to be able to move back into their premises for a period of time. So we needed to engage the disaster management framework to open evacuation centres and consider the longer term housing requirements of these people and get messages to them and provide for their welfare. And that was attributed back through the State Watch Desk at the State Disaster Coordination Centre. And in those early stages as well, it was a matter of working with the occupiers, the building management, to determine who were their high-risk occupants. And they became the priority in the broader evacuation of the premises, or broader checks of evacuation to ensure it had happened, because there wasn't an awareness available, like an immediate awareness or report available from the occupiers management to say these people have been accounted for and these haven't been. One of the other aspects that I think was critical and a decision I made early was when on first arrival and after talking with Ty as the incident controller and getting the responses and understanding what he'd put in place, his understanding of it, I made the conscious decision at that stage there was no way that I was not going to use him as my operations officer. That intimate knowledge, if I had transferred that role at that time, it would have caused problems in that the level of understanding would have taken some time to pick up. Just to the sheer number of crews, their locations, what actions they were undertaking, and that played out really well due to that understanding and that continuity. It was a really important aspect of the flow of the incident. Based on the significance of the fire, its location and impact on the community, it was always going to attract considerable interest. So very early on there was regular phone conversations with the Assistant Commissioner for Brisbane, Ian Mitchell. There was contact with the Commissioner, and subsequently the Commissioner arrived along with the Minister.
After reporting into the incident control and getting a briefing from the incident controller, Steve Smith, we also spoke with the operations officer, Station Officer Ty Moore, and was given a rundown of the complexity of the challenge that was still underway, well underway. Saw a number of BA teams being tasked and rotated as they were trying to complete extinguishment. Life rescue had already been conducted before I arrived on the scene, and I was informed of that. So what we saw was a very complex structural fire involving large numbers of BA teams and aggressive internal attack. Overall, the scene was one of good organisation, good structure in the incident management team arrangements, and I believe all of our assets were well deployed.
I think one of the largest lessons I can take out of this incident in particular is the need for good communications. Communications plan that we had in place enabled us to establish good plans, to see problems when they arose, and to effectively manage those issues as they came up. I believe that from the word back going from firefighting crews back to that fire suppression sector commander, and then coming back down to myself, we were able to effectively put this fire out the best way that we could. I was also able to resource the suppression sector commander with adequate resources to ensure that he wasn't overloaded and his crews were working to the best of their ability.
What worked well was our direction. We knew exactly what we had to do. Everyone just seemed to go about what they had to do really well, I thought.
All the training came into light that it really helped us. I think everyone knew the procedure well. I think that everyone adapted it to the situation well. I think the teamwork was excellent. The level of calmness and observation from firefighters from junior through to senior was really great, and everyone communicated things that they observed to make the other team members aware. So I thought it was very professional and well executed. The things that we could have done better, I think the deployment of the attack pack, and there was a little bit of confusion setting that up. We sorted that quite quickly, and it was a nothing in the end. It cost us very few seconds. So probably being at a station and knowing exactly what's on the truck and how to use it would have been a lesson learnt from that. And then the comms, which was through no fault of our own, was our only other drama. Being caught unprepared is probably the second worst thing that could happen to you, and the worst thing happening could be that your mistake leads to someone getting injured or worse because you are unprepared. So I think no matter where you are, it really pays to take care of yourself and your mates by knowing your job and being ready for it. Making sure you know where all your equipment is on the truck. It takes such a small amount of time every day just to know where the gear is and how to use it, and just keeping that updated, because we forget things, you know, as time goes by. And then also at the fire, just really heads up, observe everything you can on your way in and communicate with your teammates on anything that you see that's of value. And just being measured and calm, you know, I think you can work with pace, but just within yourself, just, you know, breathe easy and take your time to do what needs to be done properly.
With the conditions we had and the task we were set and the equipment we had, we did the best job we could have. Probably the key to the success of the operation was the initial setup and positioning of the aerial. It was in the perfect position, it was back on, it was driven rear on up to the perfect spot to give us the best options with operation to effect the rescue. So long as your aerial isn't being responded a large distance out of area, having a dedicated pump from that station responding with it. It also keeps a good cohesion between the crews. People who know each other and train with each other are probably better in the initial setup, and also too, the aerial operators are probably more familiar with the skill set of the pump crew that they're operating with, as to who they'd use for rescue and who they'd use for various other incident control jobs within the fireground. When you're involved with training crews for operations, keep it as realistic and as close to the actual jobs you might be presented with as possible.
Just the aerial rotation system needed to sing us. That was the first time we'd seen, in our days off, the aerials had rotated. We hadn't seen Eileen for around about 9 months. So that was the first time we'd seen it. We jumped on it raw and tested it. And it's notorious for its idiosyncrasies, problems. So we knew it was going to be interesting when we got there, getting it going and getting used to it in that situation, a rescue situation straight up. So I think it highlighted the deficiencies in the aerial rotation system, and also that truck in particular. There was a lot of problems with it. And after we put the bucket up there and started work on it, it got shut down completely. We changed crews. The boys came coming down the ladder. An internal crew took over the 38, so we had to leave the bucket there. The boys climbed down, put new crews up there, and change over to mono. They were then going to be used effective to shoot into the eaves, which had burnt through. We could see into the ceiling void, and so we're putting directly water in there. It shut down completely. Afterwards, we learned that it was due to electronics components being rusted out. As soon as everything got wet, shut down.
It was a great opportunity for the Minister to see firsthand the work of firefighters, how complex, how difficult and how dangerous it was, and I think he fully appreciated what he saw. As I say, we saw extensive BA rotation, many teams breathing apparatus safety teams, BAS teams were on site as well, and it was just a very difficult and complex situation for our firefighters.